start. Hello classmates, I'm sure all of you may know, my name is Jahnel Rico. Today, I'd like to educate you all about the most exciting soccer league in the world, the English Premier League. For those of you who aren't aware, the English Premier League in England, they refer to soccer as football. So throughout my presentation, respectively, I will be calling soccer football. So the English Premier League, it consists of 4 tiers, so there's 4 divisions in England. So the English Premier League being the top flight, so that means that's the most competitive. There's 20 teams consist of in the Premier League. So this is Bournemouth, this is Arsenal. They're a really good team. They're in the top 4, which means that the top 4 most competitive team, usually always in 4th place. They always get laughed at for being in 4th place, so that's kind of their thing right there. So they have some players, some good players, world-class players. They're actually located in South London. So London, there's a lot of rivalries, a lot of derbies, a lot of competitive matches. This is Burnley right here. Burnley's a lesser club, usually the mid-table finish. Chelsea right here, they're rich. They're filled with, I believe it's Russian money. So they're the richest club in the Premier League, along with Man City, which is over there. They're in the top 4 as well. So Man City, Arsenal, and Chelsea, and Man United. This is the best team right here in the English Premier League. They have all the money as well. It's all earned from success. The most successful team, I'm sure you're familiar with household names like David Beckham, Cristiano Ronaldo. They all came from this team. They've all won titles. This is the most prestigious team in the Premier League. So that's one thing I want to note. The derby between Manchester United and Man City is a real big derby. So that's literally in the same city, teams. It's split households. Another big rivalry is this Liverpool team right here. This Liverpool team and Everton actually have a rivalry. It's called the Merseyside Derby. I'm going to flip to the next side. It divides neighborhoods. So this is Goodison Park right here. That's Everton Stadium. And this is Anfield right here, Liverpool Stadium. So this literally divides families that live in England. So if you've ever been to England, they're really crazy about their football. They'll fight over it. And just look at the distance between Goodison Park and Anfield. That's like so close. The rivalries are crazy. So go to my next slide. I want to talk about why this is the most exciting league. Main reason, the television rights for broadcasting rights. It actually was recorded that it was a record-breaking 5.136 billion that they paid. It was Sky and BT Sports. That's the TV sponsors over there in England, in Europe. Over here it's NBC, so it's spreading a lot. NBC is actually showing the Premier League, so that's where you'll catch it over here. Actually did the math, so that number right there, the 5.136 billion in the American dollars, is about 6 trillion, 295 billion, 554 million, $720 that they spend just to broadcasting these games right here. They're really big. This is the game right here that I was talking about earlier, the Manchester United derby. This is how much they pay for players over the year. Manchester United has spent a ton of money in the past 5 seasons getting players. So far, ever since their coach left, they haven't been as successful. So lately they've been in a slump and they've just been spending money. It's really crazy how much money they spend. Look at 89 million pounds for Paul Pogba. That's around anywhere from like 120 million American dollars, like around there, just for a player to bring. I know he's a quality player. You actually have a clip right here that I'll show you later, but I just want to highlight how much these players cost. Like, they cost so much money just to come play their football. This match right here is about 825 billion, 979,000, $522 match. So I mean, it's a really big match that they play. It's a derby that takes place in the same city. I want to show you this clip. This is how a player is worth 90 million. This is what makes him 90 million. So Paul Pogba, he just arrived from Juventus. That's in the Italian league. So the Italian league is actually it's a really boring league, to be honest. It's not the best league. So yeah, it's not really that good. Juventus is actually in the Turin. That's the area over there. But I just want to show you this goal right here. This is what makes you worth 120 million. So Paul Pogba, he's the African right here that gets the ball and receives it. He plays the ball, you know, out of nothing, 85 million pounds. That's what it gets you right there. So I just want to rewind that because that was a really sweet shot. I don't give you that replay, but that's a really sweet shot right there. So that's what makes you worth that much money. I mean, it's a quality striker, he's a quality player. Whether he makes the price tag for that much money, we will see. I'm not really too sure. So yeah, I actually researched this. It was so yeah, it was Tony Evans from ESPN US who wrote this informative article about how this is like really record breaking. This game right here, just this one match out of 40 pictures that a team plays. That's just one. So that's really crazy. And my last point that I want to make, why this is the best league. Last year, this is Leicester City right here. Leicester City has always been a team that struggles. They've never been in the Premier League, and except this past year, they actually were promoted. They were promoted up from the second division league called the Championship. They struggled in their first season. They only made it because they won 7 out of the last 10 matches to stay in the Premier League, and they actually made it above the relegation zone, which is the last bottom 3 teams who are the last bottom of the Premier League. They all go down to the league. So Leicester City, they actually won the title last year. Ryan Mahrez, he's a crack. So they actually only bought him for about 400,000 pounds. So I actually translated that to dollars, and the cost for Ryan Mahrez was only it was in American dollars. It was $490,000. So that's really cheap for a quality player. He shows that if you just, it doesn't matter about the money. If you just work hard, you have passion, you work your butt off, anything is possible. So I mean, Leicester City, they went from being a nobody club to being a household name in England. They actually, to find the odds of winning were 5,000 to 1, and that's unlike you've heard in other sports. So I mean, in the EPL, it's all about money, and it's crazy how Leicester City was able to win the title last year, despite having limited funds. So I mean, it's really crazy that they won. I'm gonna show you right here some of his highlights. I think he's just as good as Paul Pogba. So I mean, he's a good player in that aspect. This is goal. Just Chelsea. Right here. He gets on top of the box, stunning control, jukes out Chelsea defenders. That play that you're marking is about worth 30 mil. He's only about worth, like I said, 400,000. So that's really great skill right there. Take on everyone. That's the season they won the title. So I mean, the Premier League, it just shows you that anything is possible. If you keep working hard, you'll be able to win titles. I mean, for sports players, I know soccer is it's more of a team sport opposed to just a one-man game. It's not like boxing where you just yourself. But that was the goal he scored against Man City. So I mean, it just proves that he won the Player of the Year for that year. He actually shows that money isn't a thing if you just play with passion, you work hard, which is what everyone's doing. I think that's an athlete. They get paid to be the best form of themselves. So if you just work hard, it doesn't matter the money, how rich these clubs are, you'll be able to achieve great things. And that's why I think the Premier League is shown that it's the best league just in any sport, I think, in my opinion. So in conclusion, I just want to go over how good the Premier League is. And hope you guys enjoyed my speech.
Joseph, what did you think?
I thought the speech was good. He picked a topic that he's very passionate about and was very knowledgeable of it. The only thing I would say is about the PowerPoint, like he didn't present, so we had to see like the entire internet page. When he was naming the teams, I would have said to blow up each team symbol so you could see the logo and make each slide of it, of the team logo. And it came to the money, I think we could have done the math a little bit better. And I think showing highlights of the team would be very helpful, in my opinion, because, well, I lost my train of thought.
Okay.
Yeah, the highlight videos, I don't think they help because I think he was under the topic of money, and I don't think that was very helpful. And he did go over his time a lot. So that's pretty much it for me.
Okay. All right, well, I think you picked out 2 or 3 things that I was going to talk about also. I think you need to get I know you're over there somewhere. You need to get the slide presentation into the right format. That just is something that you need practice with, and you're not familiar with it, and so it just gets a little confusing. The thumbnails of the team logos were teeny tiny. There was almost no value in your pointing them out. It seemed strange that you had one that was indicated and the rest of them are all just little teeny things, underneath, and so that seemed a little bit odd. That would have been an easy remedy to take care of. You start with a personal greeting, which is probably unnecessary since you just got introduced and since we've met you 3 times already, so it's not really needed. You identify the topic, so it's not really the kind of attention device that we're looking for, but you do identify the topic. Your thesis statement is a little broad, but I understand kind of where you're going. In the long run, I think it's okay. There's no preview of what the structure is going to be, and so I think that's a problem because in the body of the speech, you just kind of start talking about the league, and you're all over the place when you're talking about the league. And I think there are divisions and ideas, but it's not very clear, and you depend on the slides to organize the speech for you rather than your having organized the material in a way that makes sense to us. So I think that's problematic. You do have a few supporting materials that you cite, but they're not very frequently cited. In fact, you don't get to them until later on in the speech when you were talking about the salaries that people are getting paid. There's a lot of information there. Also, you got to work on your numbers because you're transposing numbers. You are saying the numbers incorrectly. That last number, it's not an $800 billion game. It's an $800 million game. Yes, that's what you're talking about. Or 800 million pound game, I guess, would be maybe the correct translation there. So it's one of those things where I think you are just not being careful and haven't practiced enough to get those things right. You're winging it a little bit more than you want to. Look, I didn't want you to write it out word for word, and I'm glad that you didn't. I thought you tried to speak to the audience. Well, that you tried to speak without being dependent on notes. That part was good. Speaking to the audience was a little bit of a problem because a lot of times you were delivering the speech to the screen. You get sidetracked. That's where your notes are, basically. You're using that as the reference point, and you forget to talk to us sometimes. Although your voice projects pretty well, and there's a lot of enthusiasm there. Some prep stuff on the videos, for instance, would have been helpful. I could see that you had the slide or the URL addresses into the slides, but you have to figure out how do I get to those without having to copy it, paste it, and then go to the site and then launch it. I think that there's a problem there, and there are ways to do that, but that's a little technical thing that you have to take care of ahead of time. It's not something that you want to be trying to figure out while you're giving your speech. That's a little bit awkward. For the first half of the speech, I kept thinking you were saying Derby, and I'm going, what the hell is the Derby? And it's the Derby. Okay, I got it. And that's a little bit more understandable, although I'm still not sure why they use that terminology. I think there's some interesting ideas there about, for example, how close the teams are in proximity to each other, how passionate their fans are. I think I could use a little bit more information about that and less information about how much of all the players are getting paid. I think that would be a little bit more interesting because it would tell us more about why it's a phenomena, how the teams work, what the culture is like over there when it comes to this sort of thing. Do we have anything that's comparable here that we could relate to? And you say no, but you haven't been to Alabama, where the houses are divided by Auburn and Alabama families who don't speak to each other after the football games for months. That kind of stuff. So, I know you shake your head, but I'm sure there are other differences. So, there are things that you can maybe make analogies to that people could appreciate, and it would be a little bit more interesting. Same sort of thing, like how do people support their teams or their bars or their clubs or their booster organizations. I know that there are gangs out there who beat the crap out of their opposing fans. I'd like to hear a little bit more about that stuff too. All right, thank you.